Hello, my monstrosities. Hello once again. Today I bring to you a fun little theory video. GW on Warhammer community page and on the preview show kind of just said randomly, like, hey, we are dropping a detachment for each and every faction in Warhammer 40,000 from the 1st until the 24th of December. Uh, so I, loving Tyranids the most, wanted to theory craft what the Tyranids detachment could be. And doing so, I decided to pull out my 9th edition codex. Um, and my, what edition was this? Not the one on the screen, but the one I'm currently holding about thing. I don't remember. Anywho, I decided to look back in time. And to that point, to that extent rather, I want to say I guess an apology to CMDNEYO. Now, my brain tells me your name is Command Neo. If that's not right, I took the safe option of spelling it out. So, uh, thanks for watching the videos and the support and the comments, into which why I am saying sorry. Gave an idea of like, well, you should probably talk about the history of some of these things a little bit more. That'd be dope. And I was like, I don't know. I don't think I'm the right person for it. And here I am talking about the history shit right immediately. I think that GW has a fair shot at looking back at past editions to probably pull the new detachment for the Tyranids and throw it up there. Now, where we are in the game right now, I for the most part, am content. I say that with hesitation because at the end of the day, it is hard to argue that Invasion Fleet is kind of the best detachment. I also would toss my hat in the ring for. I know this one's going to be surprising to some people. Crusher Stampede. Um, and I've talked about that enough times that I don't need to go into it on this one. But we have detachments and we have flavor and we have the ability to put things in detachments, and that's ultimately what you want and what you need. However, there are things that are still kind of missing from what I would want out of a codex for Tyranids. And to that point, I want to go through these because some of these have been incorporated, like the one I have on the screen that, funny enough, is alphabetical order. I just literally just pulled up. I'm not even gonna, just went through bam, bam, bam to talk about the high fleets and how we're going to do this situation to think about where things could be and what I think is probably the most likely. There's two that I think are the most likely direction, and I'll explain that direction a little bit when we get to those, or probably after. So first, let's talk about what Behemoth, High Fleet Behemoth was, and if it will be incorporated further. The short answer, probably not, because it's kind of already here. Behemoth is what some people would link to Crusher Stampede. However, I think we've come to realize that the current detachments for the Codex are the stages of the invasion more so than the different high fleets. They seem pretty clear on trying to change that direction. But for Behemoth, the High Fleet adaptation was hyper aggression. Each time a unit with this adaptation fights, if it has made a charge move, was charged, or performed a heroic intervention this turn, then until that fight is resolved, add 1 to the strength characteristic of models in that unit. The adaptive was you can re-roll charge rolls made for units from your army with this adaptation. Now, I don't think they're going to take more from this one because, well, we already have +1 strength in melee thanks to Synapse. And the reroll charge rolls, I don't think we're going with that angle either, because we have Advance in Charge and Vanguard Onslaught. Albeit, that's tied to Vanguard Invaders. But we kind of have a more movement aggressive one, and we even have a surge move in Unending Swarm. So I don't see them giving us another way to reroll charges in the detachment if I had to hypothesize. Now, we're going to get to the possible biomorphologies later in this, but yeah, I don't think I should cover the warlord trait. Maybe the psychic power. Uh, we don't have a psychic phase, so probably not. Probably not going to go further than just looking at high fleet adaptation and the adaptive, because otherwise, that's the crux of it. But I will say, I didn't play this edition, so if somebody wants to chime in the comments and be like, "Hey, you should probably address the other aspect of this, that whatever," feel free, drop it in the comments below what you think was probably the most probable thing out of a possible last edition that I might have forgot to put in here. Then we go to Kraken, another one that is kind of pretty much implemented. Like, we already have questing tendrils as a detachment rule. Each time a unit with this adaptation fights, if it made a charge move this turn, then until that fight is resolved, +1 AP. Each time a model makes an attack, the adaptive. Each time a unit with this adaptation advances, it is not affected by the opportunistic don't worry about that, or the don't worry about that. Do not make an advance rule. Auto advance D3 +3. Pretty much, right? Again, I don't think we're doing any more advanced and charge shenanigans than we already have in Vanguard Onslaught, so knock that one out. And +1 AP would be nice, but I don't really see them doubling down further on the melee aspect of Tyranids. Like, we already have Invasion Fleet as a melee detachment. I know, right? Shocker. I've keep talked about that. Synaptic Nexus, and I guess you could say Assimilation Swarm, Crusher Stampede. Like, we already have a lot of melee intensive ones. I don't see them giving us another situation on Kraken or utilizing Kraken to be like, here's some AP for that melee. Now, would that help? Probably. Uh, but it would have to be really different than Vanguard Onslaught. I think I missed that one too. It'd have to be really different than what we already have. Like, +1 AP. There's only so many things unless you start giving the entire detachment uh like fights first or free heroic intervention on top of that. I don't think there's any more reason for more melee out of it. So probably not Kraken either. Leviathan, busted, and we have Synaptic Nexus, so they're probably not going with that too. Busted in terms of what the current game would be. Like, I don't see them doing this one. Each time an attack is made against the Synapse monster unit with this adaptation, an unmodified wound roll of 1 through 3 always fails, irrespective of inabilities that the weapon or the attacker may have. Each time an attack is made against a unit with this adaptation, if that unit is within synaptic link range of any friendly Leviathan synapse units, an unmodified wound roll of 1 to 2 always fails, irrespective of any abilities that the weapon or the attacker may have. While I would love this in the current game, um, I just can't. I can't see them doing that, right? Like, I can't see them making it so that you have to wound synapse monsters on 4 or better, and non-synapse but in synapse range, 1 to 2 is always failing. Like, that would be giga busted in our current game state. So, well, they'd have implemented Fate Dice and Miracle Dice. Beyond that, what's the truly busted mechanics they've added? I don't. And I shouldn't say added, like, that's been there. Yeah, I can't see this. Like, to me, this is giga busted in what we're doing in current 40k. So I don't think we're going there. But the adaptive. Each time a unit with this adaptation is selected to shoot or fight, you can reroll 1 hit roll when resolving that unit's attacks. This I do see coming. I could see that being a possibility for a part of a detachment rule. I can see, just a reroll. You get 1 reroll. We have quite a few rerolling things. Old One Eye with the current effects is the Tyranid melee warriors. We have twin linked on things like even the Harpy, for fuck's sake. Um, so it's not like we're starving for rerolls. Axicron, I don't know how I didn't say that one first. So I could see them doing that, but it would be kind of pointless for the things that we have. Like, I just named a bunch of shit that we already use. So I don't see them going further on that. Like, what would rerolls even be good for at that point? I guess melee, but even to that front, we have reroll melee on both Crusher Stampede and technically Synaptic Nexus, so I can't see them going the angle of this either. Whereas, like, we have a lot of ways to reroll shit, so probably not, I guess. But I could also see it in the sense that it isn't the worst thing possible. Like, it's not giga busted like this would be right now, but you know, it would be a but. It would, if they did it, it would be more of a but why, not a I can't see it, but a why'd you do that? So that's what Leviathan, if they implemented more of Leviathan, would be. We go to Gorgon. Each time an attack is made by a model with this adaptation against a unit, excluding vehicle or titanic units, an unmodified wound roll of 4 up is always successful with adaptive toxins. And I'm going to go into the adaptive first before I say anything further. Each time a unit with this adaptation is selected to shoot or fight, you can reroll 1 wound roll when resolving that unit's attacks. I can see Gorgon making an appearance pretty tough. I can see that. Wounding always on at least 4s? Is that turbo busted? I don't know. Now, I also add, we have been craving a way for the toxic green to be more effective, and we use the venom throats every now and again for shits and gigs. We also have the Norin Assimilator. So out of those three, and gargoyles, right? Like gargoyles are a key point of Gorgon. Out of those three, they don't have, well, besides the Great Devourer and like Tyranids, they don't have a keyword that is shared per se. And first off, I want to say I also looked back at the Toxic Raid in this edition as well, and I don't know why they watered it down so much to be like, well, it's anti-infantry 2 up. The rule for this is so much better, where it's like you ruined anything that's not a vehicle or Titanic on a 2. Like anything else, you can do that. Like that's significantly better. Um, and you have like it was like a 3-inch -1 to hit, right? Or something like that. I don't know. I lost the page. I'm not going to go through that right now. But back to Gorgon, I could really see giving me a keyword because I've also bitched a lot about. I believe, yeah, that was yesterday's video. I record these at times and put them up for later. You know how YouTube goes by now, probably. Anywho, about how the Norn Assimilator didn't get a unique keyword like the Norn Emissary got Psyker. Everybody wants the Toxicrin and the Venom Thorps to have Harvester, but I'm like, I guess, but it doesn't really work. I want some shit that is going to explain kind of this terraforming aspect. If the Tyrannocyte gets a bonus word or the Sporocyst gets a bonus keyword, that'd be nice. So if there was another thing there, and now thinking about it, I put out my wishlist video because people were whispering about the balance data slate coming out in beginning of December. But if they're doing this for the rest of December, maybe the balance data slate is at the end with the new detachments in mind. Huh. Sorry. Mild epiphany during this. But anywho, Gorgon, I would like it. Uh, is that Giga busted? Me, no. I want to say no. I want to say no. But that would also be hard to interact with other rules. Well, most of the other rules that are like -1 to wound to say, hey, uh, you have to be higher strength and then you like one if it's strength higher than toughness, except for something like a Farseer on the fucking Avatar Arcane. And to this, I believe that the ruling would supersede it, into which you always get the wound roll on a 4. I feel like, because it's not necessarily a wound check, is it? I guess you're more so checking if you rolled the 4s. But anywho, all of this would make a lot of things very, very appealing. Like, we don't use barb guns now. I am going to be like, hey, I will say, I just looked at a Tyranid list from this past weekend that has some barb guns in it, and, well, maybe that'll be a video too. And you know how I like me some barb guns. But, shit like that. Barb guns, that's a high volume of attack. If they were always wounding on 4s, and you got to reroll a wound roll, that would be kind of turbo. And that might, I don't even give a fuck what the stratagems say at that point. I think that might be genuine contender territory for bringing down Invasion Fleet from being the absolute juggernaut of when in doubt Invasion Fleet. I don't, that to that point I can sympathize with like other armies such as Orcs, where it's like, man, you got your Codex, but fuck, you're still playing the Index. But to that point, I have told Orc players everything else is fine, and it keeps showing up every weekend that other shit is fine. Neither here nor there. Gorgon is probably my favorite of the options that could come back. Something where we explain the fucking toxin situation with Tyranids. We don't have that right now. They aren't kind of consistent amongst each other. I want more. I want more venom in this motherfucker. I want a sting to the bite and shit. So, Gorgon, that's my pick. Then we go to Yormungandr. Each time a ranged attack targets a monster unit with this adaptation, if the attacker is more than 18 inches away, then the target is treated as having the benefits of dense cover against that attack. Yada yada yada. Each time a ranged attack targets a unit, excluding monster units with this adaptation, if the attacker is more than 12 inches away, then the target is treated as having the benefits of dense cover against that attack. The adaptive, each time a unit with this adaptation is targeted by a weapon with the blast rule, have the number of models in that unit rounding up when determining how many attacks are made with the weapon. This is one that I can also pretty likely see coming. Why is that the case? Well, Skitarii Hunter cohort, if I'm being honest, like we see that they aren't afraid of giving an entire army damn near stealth and the benefit of cover. So I can see Jormungandr coming in an iteration like that. Would I be happy with it? Maybe. As far as it goes, we could stand to use new ways to get a little bit more survivability out of our units. If it comes in the form of the benefit of cover, that's fine with me. Is it the strongest detachment rule possible? Probably not. But here's the other kicker where this would be very good for infantry skew list. So, unending swarm, but they obviously don't want unending swarm around. Um, and probably the way that people try to play Vanguard Onslaught, this would be nice in the sense that, well, there's a bunch of infantry. And I'm going to the infantry part because I can't really see them giving the benefit of cover. Can I? Like the Skitarii Hunter cohort, it is stealth for all those shenanigans. And then, what's the benefit of cover again? I don't remember. Um, but, maybe. Uh, could they give the benefit cover? And would that fix some of the data sheets? That would be tough. Like just a -1 AP pretty much. Unless you go against a weapon that ignores cover. I think it could be plausible. Maybe they would put it on a monster. Maybe they would. are monsters in general. Like an entire army, minus 1 AP Tyranids. What does that look like? Is that busted? It would really have to come down to what the stratagems do to if this would be a worthwhile detachment to build around. Because trying to I don't know. I think I'm indifferent on the can I see it? Yeah, I can see this being a rule because they've done it. The blasters whatever too, right? Um but can I see it? Well, I can see them doing it. I guess that's the first part. Would I mind it or would I like it? Not for my play style, I think. Not for my play style. Ah, for the most part? For the most part. It would really depend on what the stratagems of Yormungandr do um, for this. And if you can't tell, I really used to like Yormungandr and learning mythology as a kid. So, one of my favorite words out of Norse mythology, which, is a character, but hey, whatever. Jormungandr, I can see it being a reality for the new detachment. Then we go to Kronos. And Kronos is important. Not just because of what it does, I guess, but for the scheme of could it fit in. Add 4 to the range characteristic of ranged weapons that models with this adaptation are equipped with. Adaptive each time a model with this adaptation makes a ranged attack that targets a unit within half range, improve the AP characteristic of that attack by 1. First, I think I should say, I shouldn't say, I think I will say, this is probably the most likely out of them, in my opinion, to some extent, because we've seen a lot of the detachments, GW, going towards ranged combat in the sense of we see Montka, we see Bringers of Flame, we see Retaliation Cadre, into which no, 2 of those were Tau. But we are seeing a bit more of a hey, if you could get in there and well, damn near the Bringers of Flame is the fucking Salamander's detachment, but better. Um, we're seeing them do a lot of hey shooting, and we don't have a shooting detachment. That's what I was going on about earlier in this video, into which we have a lot of fucking. How do you want to do your melee? You want to do your melee with big monsters, with some monsters, uh, or with fucking whatever. I'll do it kind of orky style, right? Like, uh, we need a shooting detachment, and I think a lot of us were looking to find out where the fuck it was when the codex first dropped. And furthermore, we kind of made Invasion Fleet our shooting detachment, but out of the things that we can activate in the shooting phase, you have fucking like Irresistible Will and Synaptic Nexus. You have the Ignore Cover one and Swarm Guided Salvos. What is it in fucking Crush Stampede? I can't remember right now. And yeah, like your shooting phase. Oh, and I guess Surprise Assault. Like there's not many things that are your shooting phase. So we do need a detachment that buffs that. And adding 4 to the range characteristic of weapons would be a nice buff. Going to some of the discussions that I've had in recent videos, things like Zoe's, if you could then make it so that they are 28 inches of shooting, significantly better, right? Then you don't have to put them in the danger zone of just immediately fucking blowing up. If we have like 40-inch guns on ranged Tyranid warriors, now if you can find a way, hopefully they fucking buff the ballistic skill as well. But if you can find a way to buff that in the detachment as well too if it's not on their data sheet. Okay, maybe I'm lying. I'm still not taking them. But, shit like that. Exocrine going from 36 inches to 40, and the Tyran effects going from 48 to 52. Those are, like, that's breakpoint fucking ranges, right? Like, that is, alright, you really have to move up to try to shoot me. Well, I don't have to do that for you. But I don't really think they would go the range aspect. I think that's kind of a, I don't want to say an outdated mechanic, because fuck no, range is not outdated. But they haven't been seen to be willing to like further ranges with how hard they've been going on indirect fire. I think more so it would be an assault fucking detachment, just like they've done with Bringers of Flame, Renegade Raiders, Cult of Speed, uh, what other fuck else, like Monka again, like shit like that. I could see them giving just how we have Advance and Charge and Vanguard Onslaught. I can see them then turning to Advance and Shoot with what would they call it? What stage of the invasion would that be? Huh, who knows? But like a Kronos iteration, and then improve the AP characteristic of the attack if you're within half. That would probably make sense, especially on something like a Maliceptor, um, who wants to get close but not too close at the same time because it's a blast weapon. It would also need some degree of fall back and shoot or advance. Well, like if you're going advance and shoot, you would need fall back and shoot to make the unit work even further because a lot of our weapons are fucking blast. So if you keep the half range thing, that's not as great for like other detachments where not all of their weapons are blast. It's like a fucking stubber or a flamer that you can still use in combat. So taking a Maliceptor to 10-3-3, fuck yeah, I'll take that every day of the week. Would your Exocrine be able to get to 9-4-3, half range, 18 inches, or yeah, let's just keep it 18 inches to assume that you keep that and not the other part. Mm, maybe not though. Like that is a target that people do focus, so I probably wouldn't expect your exit crimes to often get to 10. I mean 9-4-3. But the Maliceptor getting to 10-3-3, I can see. And then we're talking 10-3-3. That is dire biocannon from the Harridan and that we just saw in the Hierophant. Or I guess when I released this, would you have seen it? I don't remember if I've released the Harridan. I don't know if I've released the Harridan video by now. Either way, uh, I can see Kronos being the most likely option out of the High Fleet so far. Hydra. Each time a model with this adaptation makes a melee attack that targets a unit containing fewer models than its own, add 1 to the attack's hit roll. For the purposes of this adaptation, vehicle and monster models each count as 5 models. Adaptive. Add 1 inch to the move characteristic of models with this adaptation. Each time a model with this adaptation makes a consolidation move, it can move up to an additional 3 inches. Uh, we're just talking probably 6, right? Consolidate 6. This would be interesting, I guess. How would they incorporate it in today's game? Add 1 to the attack's hit roll. We do have +1 strength, so maybe they might do this, and I really wouldn't want them to. Uh, because we have ways to get +1 to hit enough. If anything, I would like this to see plus, again, assuming we don't go to the +1 AP on melee too, right? It would have to be something along like +1 attacks characteristic and excluding extra attack weapons. Or hell, if they throw that in, then we're talking. But I can't see them doing Hydra. I don't want them to do Hydra. I can't. I can see part of Hydra becoming a stratagem choice for who was it again? Um, for maybe Kraken or Behemoth. If well, Behemoth further or Kraken. But or Kraken further too, I guess. Fuck it. But yeah, no, I'm not really feeling Hydra on that one. So before we get to the biomorphologies you can swap out, the one that I think is most likely is Kronos. The one that I am okay with is Yormungandr. The one that I want is Gorgon. Leviathan and Kraken and Behemoth are already kind of in a way. So don't really don't really see those happening. For the biomorphologies, a lot of these are have become shit. Half of them have become like not half, but like a good portion of them became a part of Unending Swarm in name, maybe not in ability, but like Adrenalized Onslaught, Hidden Reflexes. Is that Unending Swarm? I'm forgetting. Synaptic Goading, Terror, Naturalized Camouflage, Relentless Hunger. So I these are other things. I don't think we're going to do something with more consolidation. Units with this adaptation are eligible to shoot into a turn in which they fell back, but if they do, uh, -1 to the hit roll for the ranged attack. I can't see them bringing that penalty into the current edition because it's just like such a non-issue. Fall back and shoot is not uh, the bane of this edition. If anything, it's looking like advance and shoot. Who would have thought? But yeah, they might bring heightened reflexes in and change the name because we already have that in Unending Swarm, right? I'm assuming so. I haven't looked back right now, but pretty sure that's Unending Swarm. Augmented Ferocity. Add one to charge rolls made for units with this adaptation. I can see this being incorporated somehow. I wouldn't want it to be because again we have Vanguard Onslaught, and the reason I can see it is because of Annihilation Legion and I think Blood Angels. If it's a Space Marine, I can't be fucking asked right now to figure out which one of the fucking detachments are for who, but Annihilation Legion has something similar and requires fucking loops. So I really hope that they don't just slap this into us because who who cares about the +1 to charge that much? Yeah, can't do that. Synaptic Goading at the start of the first battle round, Endless Multitude units we already have, right? Uh, but they can Scout 6. I don't think now. Can I see them adding this to Unending Swarm to make it feel less shit right now? Yeah, I can. But that's not what this video is about. But, I think they might be able to help Unending Swarm a bit. Ambush Predators, eligible to perform heroic interventions as if they were a character unit. We can do heroic intervention without being characters nowadays, so who gives a shit about that? Exoskeletal reinforcement. Each time an attack with an AP characteristic of 1 is allocated to this model, to a model with this adaptation, that attack has an AP characteristic of 0 instead. That is powerful. Can I see them adding that into current 40k? I'm going to say no, because it's not. Don't get me wrong, it's not game breaking, right? Actually, maybe it is, to be honest. But a lot of people this edition are talking about how low their AP are. At least for the Xeno side, the fucking meltas and shits that you can do in the Imperium, you're fucking kidding me. But like the orcs are talking about AP1. I know I'm tired of AP1 and 2. If you gave this to a detachment where effectively a good portion of the weapons become AP0, yeah, that might be actually giga busted for current 40k. Yeah. Yeah, that might be too much. So I don't think they'd add this in. Naturalized camouflage would have to have a different name. Each time a ranged attack is allocated to a model with this adaptation while he's receiving the benefit of cover from a terrain feature, add an additional 1 to any armor saving throw made against that attack. Could be really cool. could be really cool. Um, Making it +2 to save, that could be nice, but again, after thinking about like the last one, I don't think they'd be keen to do this. However, you do have to be receiving cover from a terrain feature, and if you don't, you kind of just fucked. Nah, cover is way too easy to get this edition. It it I shouldn't say too easy to get. I don't have a problem with it really. Or I'm not. It's not a concern of mine. So probably not. Territorial instincts, monsters, objective security ability, yada yada yada. Wound characteristic, Crusher Stampede. Not really the fix to what Crusher Stampede was, basically. So not really seeing them implement something like this. Unfeeling resilience. Monsters with this adaptation whose characteristics can change as they suffer damage are considered to have doubled the number of wounds remaining for the purposes of determining what those characteristics are. Now, we don't have. Well, we're not running shit like the Hierophant right now, so we don't have to go to the, well, my objective control went down by 5 situation. But we do have monsters that take a -1 to hit. And I don't think that's enough. In fact, we have an entire detachment to do the opposite and already offset this. So I don't think so. I don't think so. Synaptic ganglia. You can re-roll deny the witch test taken for units with this adaptation. Each time a psychic power is manifested, I'm going to stop there. I didn't even know I continued after deny the witch. We don't have psychic test and shit, so fuck it. Uh, could I see them doing something in regards to leadership tests? No, we have synapse for 3d6. No, okay. Feed biomorphologies have stabilizing membranes. Each time a model with this adaptation makes a ranged attack on an unmodified wound roll of 6, improve the AP characteristic of that attack by 1. Now, I'm not saying Invasion Fleet needs the buff, but if they were going to do this, this would replace the fucking precision part of um, Invasion Fleet. However, as I've stated before and time again, Invasion Fleet is more focused on being melee. So would they do this if they implemented Kronos in a way? They might add this as well. Ranged, yeah, maybe. So effectively on critical wounds, AP +2, basically. Maybe, maybe it's not the craziest thing, but it's also not the greatest thing. I don't know. I think there's a chance. Exoskeletal stabilization. Do not suffer penalty to hit rolls incurred for fire and assault weapons. That's not a thing. Models with this adaptation do not suffer the penalty to hit rolls incurred for fire and heavy weapons in the same turn they moved. Um, that might be good, but it's not necessarily a penalty. Now we kind of treat it as like a, hey, you can. So it's not necessarily a penalty. It's more of a like a bonus on the other side. Instead, you get a +1 to hit if you didn't move versus taking 1 away if you moved. So probably not either. Huh. I guess they wouldn't do that either. Monster models with this adaptation do not suffer the penalty incurred to their hit rolls, and we have big guns never tire. I mean, heavy weapons, maybe would they do? Don't worry about it for big guns never tire. If they would have put this in Crusher Stampede. So probably not this one either. Reasons in the shadow. Excuse me. Each time a unit with this adaptation declares a charge, enemy units that were targeted by that charge cannot fire Overwatch or sit to defend against the target. Don't worry about that one. Uh, whoops. Cannot fire Overwatch. Uh, if they were, they would put this in Vanguard Onslaught versus something new, probably. So probably not. Relentless Hunger, again, would need a new name. Each time a unit with this adaptation fails a charge, it can make a normal move of up to 3 inches. This would be... cool. Would it be worth it, and would it be busted? Probably be busted. Probably would be busted. Yeah, probably would be busted in current 40k. I can't really see them doing that. Nah. And Unstoppable Swarm. Units with this adaptation can ignore any or all modifiers to their move characteristic, advanced rolls, or charge rolls. We don't have too many things in the game right now that are fucking that over. Night Spinners were a terror. Guard are a terror again right now, but they're not using Earthshaker rounds. Uh, we're not using Barbgons or damn selves. The... Is it the Rocket Truck Squig Buggy? Yeah, we're not seeing a lot of affecting people's movements. Is Rod well? There is Rodigus. Yeah, beyond that, I don't think that this would be like they could do it, but I don't think it'd be needed or wanted at this point in the game. So looking at these, there are some that are likely, but I shouldn't say likely, possible, but I don't think any of these are likely. So to conclude, Kronos most likely, Yormungandr possible, Gorgon is the one I want. And we'll see where we go to for this. But yeah, I guess happy Grotmas, everybody, even though this would be coming out before then, Yeah, if you liked the video, like it. Add a comment for me, comment. And until next time, peace out, my monstrosities.